What's on, people, and welcome back to another episode of Ghetto Gospel. So where we left off at. Last week, we talked about how Jacob's daughter got assaulted by this local dude in the city they were staying in, and how he tried to marry her after the fact to make up for it. We also talked about how her brother slaughtered every dude in that city as revenge for what homie did to their sister. The last thing we talked about was how Jacob was worried that them folks in that area was gonna click up and knock him off for what they did to that city. And now we caught up. So right out the gate, the first thing that happened is God hollered at that boy Jacob like, "Say, bro, get up, head down to Bethel and build an altar to the God who saw you when you first ran from your brother Esau." Why God talking about himself in the third person? I don't know. Who gonna check him? So then Jacob rolled up on his family like, "Get rid of them foreign guys y'all got. Take a bath and put on some fresh clothes and whatnot." Whoa, where'd that come from? Jacob wrestled with God, and God changed his name and gave him all these promises. Now, not only is his family worshiping other gods, but the chapter ain't even calling him by his new name. It's almost like he done went backward or something. So then he was like, "We gotta go to Bethel. I'm gonna build an altar there to the God who answered me when I was in trouble and who done stuck with me everywhere I done went." So they all gave Jacob their foreign gods and their earrings, and Jacob hid it up under a tree near the city they were staying in. Now, I'm gonna take a quick pause, because I want y'all to see something here. In the last verse, it say that they gave Jacob their foreign gods and their earrings, and he buried them. You know what it don't say? Why they gave him the earrings. You could probably convince somebody that the earrings has something to do with the foreign gods, but that ain't what it say. And I done heard church folks from all over the place try to make little logical leaps like that and tell folks the Bible say, and then throw in their little one verse theology for the thing they want to force other folks not to do. We gonna talk more about that later in the book. But suffice it to say, if somebody tell you the Bible say to do or not do something, but it don't say that nowhere in the Bible, that person probably just a fraud that like making folks miserable. So back to Jacob. Him and all his fam headed out to Bethel where God told him to go. And it say that God made it so the cities around them was terrified and ain't nobody follow them when they left. So once they made it to Bethel, Jacob built an altar there and called that spot the house of God again, because that's where God met him when he was running away from his brother the first time. So then something happened out of left field. It say that Deborah, the woman who raised Jacob's mama Rebecca, died, and they buried her under a tree in the south of Bethel and named it the crying tree. Now the crazy part is, the first time this woman was ever mentioned was way back in chapter 24. And even then it ain't say her name. Why are they all of a sudden putting it in here now? It might be because they want folks to understand how that tree got the name the crying tree. It might also be because somehow she was important to Jacob and his family. I'm not sure. The one thing you can't argue with is that even though she was essentially just a servant who took care of Rebecca and her family for all of them years, God still remembered who she was. And when she went on to the other side, her name made it into the book. I think that's worth remembering. So after they posted up, God showed up and told that boy Jacob, "Look here, bruh, your name Jacob, but that ain't your name no more." That's the second time God telling him this. Your name gonna be Israel. And so if it was any question left, God changed Jacob's name to Israel. Then he was like, "I'm Big G, ain't nobody seeing me." Then he was like, "Be fruitful and multiply." For real, God? I said what I said. I'm gonna turn you into buku nations, and kings gonna come from you. I'm gonna give you the land of Abraham and Isaac, and I'm gonna give it to your descendants in the future. And then God bounced. So Jacob set up a stone marker at that spot where God talked to him. This kind of marker, not this kind of marker. And it said he poured out a drink offering and some oil on it. And that might not seem like much to us, but you gotta remember that they lived in a part of the world that's always been super dry. And growing the kind of plants that they could make oil out of took a whole lot of time. Basically, drinks was valuable because folks was thirsty, and oil was expensive to make. Wasn't no Crisco back then. And it tell us one more time that Jacob called the spot where God talked to him Bethel. Almost like that's more than just a name or something. So that's it for this week. If you don't know Jesus, but you're trying to get to know him, go and click that first link in the description down there. I'll see y'all next week, and as always, peace, and I hope y'all people straight.